Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my entry for the Trijam 188 tournament. This week's theme was Sabotage, so I created a very silly little political simulator thing, which you can play on itch.io. I'll link the game in the description. And yeah, this is a video of how I built it in about 2.5 hours, roundabout there. So without further ado, let's dive on in. The first thing I did was I opened up Figma and I started sketching out a little vector character for our politician at large, the man we are intending on sabotaging. I think that's a word. Anyway, I spent a bit of time working out the top and bottom half of his mouth because in a minute you'll see I'm sort of testing out what it's going to look like when it animates. Gave him a couple of eyebrows, and lastly I drew him a little podium for him to stand at with a microphone because he is a politician after all, so he's got to speak to the masses. Anyways, now we bring it into the animation app, which is called Rive. Very good animation tool if you've never used it. And basically I just animated his mouth flapping up and down, cut out one of the keyframes just to give it a bit of extra variation, and I made a couple animations with his eyebrows moving, but I didn't end up using those. Anyway, here I am sourcing a crowd image for the crowd which he is speaking to. Cut it out in Illustrator and brought it back into Figma and just fiddled around with the colors a little bit, just to get it to blend with the scene a little more, scaled it up, and aligned everything in how I more or less thought the game would look. Now, at this point, I started writing the actual code. So the first thing I'm doing here is I'm bootstrapping a Create React app project, because for this particular game, I'm not actually using a game engine because there's not really any need to. It is in fact just basically a web app that runs inside of a little box in the browser. While that was installing, I was figuring out how to set up Rive, set up the React SDK for Rive and downloading the files I needed for that. After that, I kind of blew through messing around with the Rive SDK a little bit and just sort of figuring out how it all works. It took a bit of trial and error because I've never used it before. This was my first time using it for this game. See, I'm going through type definitions and stuff like that, but eventually I had a more or less laid out little area with the crowd beneath our imported from Rive guy chatting to the crowd, and eventually gave it a little background, and you can see his mouth moving there. So the next obvious step was to figure out how to make lined paper in CSS, because I've definitely seen this before and I knew it was possible, so I just found a tutorial and basically stole their code. However, I modified it slightly so that instead of using a paragraph tag for the text, it would use a text area with a transparent background, so you'd be able to actually type the lines of text on the page, not just view and select them. A little bit of styling went into this part because it's kind of like the title screen of the game / the only screen you actually interact with. So put a little bit of work into the styling there. After that, I really just started putting everything together, and this is kind of the integral part of this quote-unquote simulation, because I'm installing a package called Trijam.js, which is a speech synthesis and also recognition, although we're not using the recognition in this SDK or API or whatever. And so I set it all up so that it'll read whatever you type into the in his speech, so he'll actually read the speech with a slightly robotic voice. Now what I'm doing is I'm just setting up another package called howler.js, which is just for using sound effects and yeah, just some finishing touches and some polish and making a play again screen, and that was really it. So yeah, thanks for watching this with me. We'll take a look at what it looks like, the completed version looks like now, and yeah, take it easy.
We're going to do great things. This is a great country with a long history of greatness. If you choose to re-elect me, I promise I won't raise butts again. I'll also try to make things more chaotic and mad for everyone. Seriously. I will. I know that mistakes were made while I was in office previously. But don't worry. Things will be far worse this time.